While I think that Crash Course World History does a great job of showing a great amount of history in a very short amount of time, I think that John does a disservice to us all when he overlooks Israel. So, on this module, we'll be talking about the role of the Israelites, how they developed into a regional power in the Near East, and how they developed their unique religion. Alright, history buffs. To review from last module, we have the Bronze Age collapse. And during that collapse, we have a large movement of people throughout the Near East, and probably even in the Western Mediterranean too. It is during this time that we actually have the first indication of the Israelites. They are first mentioned in a 13th century inscription from Egypt. And this Egyptian inscription places them in the Near East, in Canaan, which is where any biblical reader will know the Israelites established their kingdom after the Exodus. This is a little problematic because it places the Israelites in Canaan a little bit earlier than the Bible does. And it also totally ignores any indication that the Egyptians had enslaved the Israelites. Once the Israelites were in Canaan, or perhaps they always were, they established a kingdom that became a pretty successful regional kingdom around the 11th to the 9th centuries. But what I want to focus on isn't Israelite politics, but the writing of the Bible itself, particularly the first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah. The Torah ascribes itself to Moses. It claims that Moses wrote all 5 books, but in fact, we can see 4 different writers in the Torah by looking at different language styles, different outlooks on religion, and just the fact that the narrative repeats itself a lot. And we call this the documentary hypothesis, the idea that there are 4 documents combined into the 5 books of the Torah. It happened in a period called the Babylonian exile, around 500 BC. The Israelites were conquered by Babylon, and the Babylonians controlled their territory by taking the elite members of Israelite kingdom hostage and transporting them to the Babylonian capital of Nineveh. While the Israelites were in Nineveh, they encountered Zoroastrianism, and this had a profound effect on the way they viewed their god. Zoroastrians believe in an incorporeal deity called Ahura Mazda, and his dualistic counterpart, Ahriman. But the Israelites took this idea of an incorporeal god and applied it to their own god. Another influence that Babylonian civilization has is in the book of Exodus itself, which some of you will be reading in this module. The most important influence on Exodus is the law code itself. If you've read Hammurabi's Code, when you read Exodus, you're going to notice an awful lot of similarities. And the Israelites get that because they are part of a larger regional community that has a huge influence from Babylon, from Hammurabi's Code. The final important aspect of the writing of the Torah is that it shows that Israelites weren't always true monotheists. Monotheism has a pretty strict definition, that you believe that there is only one God, full stop. But look at the first commandment. I am your God. There are no other gods before me. This commandment itself admits that there are other gods, and it prohibits the Israelites from worshiping them. But it does not claim that those other gods do not exist. So Israel, when the commandments were written, is actually henotheistic, which means that they believe that there are other gods that exist, but they choose to worship only one. After the Babylonian captivity, once the Torah is written, the latest books of the Torah, especially Deuteronomy, do not have that henotheistic spin. They are truly monotheistic. They believe that there is only one God, and that whatever gods that the other people pray to around them just don't exist, and they're foolish to believe in them. And this belief only gets stronger over time. So if you feel like it, you can peruse the Psalms and you'll see Psalms that claim that there is one God and that is God. While you think about the Bronze Age and the Israelite growth of the Iron Age, you'll have to keep in mind the important connections that the Israelites had with other groups. And while they're a minor group in their region, they actually absorb a lot of culture and a lot of ideas from the people around them. And I'll see you in discussion.